Okay, good day everyone. At this point, we are going to continue our discussion about the historical antecedent of science and technology in the Philippines. Last time, we are done talking about the development of science and technology in the different periods such as pre-colonial period and Spanish regime. Okay, where we mentioned that when it comes to pre-colonial period, okay, the main contributions or impact of science and technology is mainly seen in our culture or tradition, our writing system, and our beliefs or religious practices. At the same time, we already have distinct systems such as or social organizations like barangays. With Spanish regime, okay, everything seems to be centered within Christianity or religion. Okay? And again, the development of science and technology in the Spanish regime seems to be quite slow, okay, in comparison with the succeeding um, periods. Now, let's proceed with the American regime. Okay, let me just get into it real quick as we flash the other slides discussing the Spanish regime's impact. Okay, so let's talk about the American regime. Okay, if again with Spanish regime, science and technology seems to be developing in the Philippines, but yet in a very slow pace. Okay, here science and technology advance rapidly. Okay, why? Because the American regime supported the Philippines and encouraged it when it comes to what education system. Okay, kilalang-kilala yung mga Americans or yes, the Americans who colonized us to establish the public education system here in the Philippines and at the same time the private ones. And at the same time, they also encouraged and supported us not just simply by establishing yung mga public and private schools, but they also offered scholarship grants for higher education, specifically in the field of science and engineering. Another thing that we should thank the Americans for is that they are the one who started to establish organization here in the Philippines that specializes in scientific research. Okay? And actually, up until today, some of the agencies that they've established can still be or are still operating. Okay? So if we are going to look in here, since like what I mentioned, American regime gave us one of like the fastest advancement in science and technology, that is mainly due to the fact that they've introduced what? Education to us. This only shows that education plays a major role when it comes to what? The development of science and technology. If you're going to look in this picture po in the slide, we got a picture in here, letter or labeled as letter A. Okay? This actually is a Thomasite. When we say Thomasite, that refers to the American teachers during the American regime here in the Philippines. So they act as the Filipino elementary teachers during that time. And again, the type of education here is non technically secularized. When we say secularized, that means it is not religious, okay? Which is far different from what? The church-centered approach of the education system provided to us by the Spanish regime. Okay? And during this time as well, all Filipinos were given the opportunity to go to school, to enter primary school or elementary school, regardless of their social status and economic level po. This also in here, if you're going to check as well po yung letter B picture, that actually is the Philippine uh, normal school during that time, which is now known as the Philippine Normal University or PNU. Okay. And here, if we're going to check, okay, kasi nga, dahil they are the one who provided us the primary education, okay, that is non-selective, okay, they make sure that still Americans will mark within each Filipinos during that time. Why? Because they make English as the primary medium of instruction during that time. Thus, the reason why, aside from our local dialects, okay, and our languages, here in the Philippines, we also are capable of speaking in English. Okay? So if you're going to look at it, um, are we really are free during that time, or is this education system introduction really something that we should thankful for? Or, kasi if you're going to analyze it, diba, still the medium of instruction being utilized is the language of our colonizers, right? So that is something that we should ponder upon as well. Okay? Going back with this po, yung Philippine Normal School, which is again now Philippine Normal University, what is that, or what is its purpose during the time? Obviously, this is a school that has become a training ground for Filipino teachers. Pero during that time po kasi, if you're done graduating from high school, you can already get into Philippine Normal School to train and become a normal school teacher. Ma'am, bakit nga ba normal yung tawag sa Philippine Normal University or Philippine Normal School? Ibig sabihin po 'pag abnormal ka, 'di ka na puwedeng pumasok doon? Well, technically po, normal po yung ginamit ng, term kasi when we say normal school, yun nga po yung sinabi ko kanina, that refers to a school that teaches the standards or the norms, okay, to the aspiring, teachers po, okay, in the future. Kaya normal school. Kasi again, these are schools or places that hones the skills and competencies of future teachers that are expected to have the standards or the norms of a proficient educator. Okay? Kaya sabi dito, mark the rapid advancement of science and technology in the Philippines. It is through education that the Americans establish, okay, the development of science and technology here in the Philippines. On top of that, another thing that the Americans has influenced to us is the fact that the country still remained an exporter to US of various agricultural crops. On the other hand, we import naman yung pong mga US manufactured products. So during this time, may concept na po ng importing and exporting. We are exporting what? Our raw materials, our agricultural products to them while we import, okay, yung mga manufactured products nila. Ma'am, what good thing is associated with this one? Okay? Actually, class, kung tutusin, this should have paved the way for our economy to grow. But the thing in here, class, is still that didn't happen. Why? Because of the free trade that is existing between the Philippines and the Americans during this time. We have this free trade relation. Kung meron po kayong background sa economics, you should know it already. When we say free trade, ibig sabihin po nun, we are exporting our agricultural products without tax-free. So kumbaga, nagbebenta ka ng sakto lang. I mean, kung ano yung amount or yung price nun as it is when you like buy it. Okay? That's the same price you're going to sell it. So may kikitain ka ba doon? Technically wala. Lugi ka pa sa labor. Kumbaga ganun din yung nangyari sa atin, no. Though this time we are not like buying because we already are the ones doing the hard work to cultivate our agricultural crops. Pero just for it to get imported, free of tax. So do you think our economy will grow this way? Well, definitely no. Okay? And isa lang din po yun sa alin? Sa mga disadvantages because If we were to analyze, our country is filled with lots of agricultural products, crops, sorry, excuse me, minerals that we could have been used as, sorry po, we could have used as raw materials for us to create even better products. But because of our American colonizers and the free trade relations that they've established, ang nangyari, they only used our own resources for their own advantage. And it's a one-sided thing if you're going to look at it. Kasi they're already getting our natural resources or agricultural crops without any additional cost. Okay? And at the same time, nag-import pa sila sa atin, okay, ng sarili nilang mga products. So, how did this impact industrialization in the Philippines? Negatively, obviously. Kasi, because of this, we didn't have the chance to produce our own, and at the same time, we weren't able to technically, get into the industrial part growth. Kasi nga po, we are busy taking care of what? The things that they needed po to get from us. So again, because of this, the industrialization in the Philippines get halted. Okay. Another thing po is that the Americans are also the one who established the University of the Philippines. Okay? Why? Because they recognized during this time the demand for professional education. Kumbaga, sobrang dumadami na, no? Or there is an increasing need to produce or to have professional education related programs or courses for everyone. Thus, they established the University of the Philippines. And this is the only established public school for college or higher education during this time. Okay? And still, no, kahit na meron na tayong UP during this time to accommodate the increasing demand for professional education, kasi nga, everyone is already allowed to have or to be educated during this time, no? Especially yung mga Filipinos, kaya marami yung nag-take ng take advantage of the opportunity. But still, UP cannot accommodate everyone. So, that's the time when the Private School Act or the Act number 2076 has been established. Okay. This is again to recognize the increasing demand for professional education, and that because of that, they established what? Private school institutions po. Okay? Ito po ay hindi for commercial purposes. Talagang nag-establish po ang mga Americans during this time ng mga private school to really educate po yung others who cannot be accommodated by the UP. And that is the reason why we've already had what? The Office of the Private Education during this time. Okay? The establishment of the Office of the Private Education during this time is aimed to establish and investigate matters that is related to private education or private school education, how to improve it and how to accommodate everyone. On top of it, class, okay, another agency that or like UP is an institution. It is an educational institution, okay? But on top of it, another agency which has been established during the American regime is the National Research Council of the Philippine Islands in the year 1933. What's the purpose of this agency? Okay? Dito nakikita na natin na sinusuportahan po ng Americans yung science and technology in the Philippines. This NRCP has been established for the promotion of the scientific research in the Philippines. And actually, they've established policies po in different fields so that science and technology can develop. Specifically, scientific research can develop. So, ano nga po yung policies or what fields are associated with the scientific researches that is being um, conducted by NRCP. Okay. Una po is that they have this specialization policies for social sciences, humanities, education, international policies, and governance. That's the first one. Next one naman is ang focus po ng policy ng NRCP is physics, engineering, and industrial research, earth and space sciences, and mathematics. Another one is yung medical, chemical, and pharmaceutical sciences. And then lastly, biological sciences, agriculture, and forestry. Again, those are like the four policies that has been established by the NRCP for the development of the scientific research here in the Philippines. Okay. Now, let's talk about the next period, which is the Commonwealth period. Okay. As we all know, pag sinabing Commonwealth, ito yung parang parte ng history ng Pilipinas that is quite like related with the term freedom. But are we really free during this time? Okay. Let's try to see how how it is really, no? Kasi, 'di ba, if you're going to like recall your history class, sa Commonwealth period, this is the time when we already have our own like independent government. Like government that is not like handled directly by the Americans. Okay? Sabi nga nila, this period marked the beginning of the country's transformation to political independence. And at the same time, because of this independence, no, na sinasabing ibinigay sa atin during this period, this brought about several government corporations that has been established during that time, which were up until today are standing. Example po is yung NEDA, or the National, I'm sorry, first is the National Economic Council, which again, yung National Economic Council na yan, it has been known to be the NEDA today, which is the National Economic and Development Authority. What is this one? This is an independent cabinet level agency of the Philippine government, which is responsible for what? For economic development and planning. Okay? So, ang main focus po nila is to drive our economy to develop. Okay? In what way? They're the one that conducts and come up with different national plans, okay, for development. Sabi nga rin po, no, it is the governing body that sets major development policies for the direction of our country. Aside from NEDA, or the National Economic Council, okay, we also had the National Power Corporation during this time, or during the Commonwealth period. This is a Philippine government-owned and controlled corporation that is mandated to provide electricity to all rural areas of the Philippines, by 2025. Okay? Actually, it is known as the missionary electrification. And aside from that, the National Power Corporation is also known to manage the water resources for power generation. Kumbaga, more than the typical source of electricity, they are also tasked to look for other alternative sources, those that are renewable, such as water, okay, for power generation to optimize the use of other power generating assets. Another one is yung National Abaca and Other Fiber Corporation. This one is now known as the Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority, or ito pong PhilFIDA. Again, it's the Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority, PhilFIDA. Okay, so what is this one? Okay, this PhilFIDA is another agency okay, of the Philippines that is associated with what? Most likely the DF, DO, DA. Sorry. Sorry. I'm actually and obviously not feeling well up until today, but I'm sorry for me barking all over this discussion po. But going back, si PhilPIDA, under po yan ng Department of Agriculture. So obviously, what it is responsible of? It is responsible for the promotion and the acceleration or promotion of accelerated growth and development of the fiber industry here in the Philippines. Ano ba yung mga pangunahin or number one, Philippine fiber sources? We got abaca, no? Yan naman yung kilalang kilala sa lahat, no? When it comes to fibers here in the Philippines. It's actually also known as the Manila hemp rather. Manila hemp. And other than abaca, cotton is also included po. Okay? So, class, what really is the main goal of the Commonwealth period? Actually, according to them, no, Commonwealth period aims to provide the Philippines the self-reliance when it comes to what? Economic or economy. Okay? They wanted the Philippines to achieve economic self-reliance. And during this time, no, if you're going to look at it and if you again, no, are well read or versed when it comes to the Philippine history, despite of that goal, no, Americans are still in the background po eh. Why? Because foreign trade policies are still being enacted here in the Philippines po. And another thing, if you're going to trace as well our history, di ba after ng Commonwealth, anong nangyari? Japanese invasion occurred, di ba? The Japanese puppet government suddenly get in the way of the Commonwealth period. And that's the time when what? Technically our country was put into chaos once again. But nonetheless, those are the contributions of the Americans starting from their American regime up until the Commonwealth period. Okay? So what happened since the period po after the independence na tinatawag nga po sa atin or after we get liberated. Okay? On top of the other agencies that has been established during the American regime and the Commonwealth period, other institutions po started to get established here in the Philippines. That includes what? Yung mga learning institutions such as the Department of Education and Culture, okay, which is known as DEX during this time. Actually, parang bago yung DepEd, natatandaan ko ang tawag sa kanya ay Department of Education and Culture, Department of Education and Culture and Sports. Parang may ganun pa. DEX na naging DepEd. Okay? And then other than that, we also got yung, obviously, ano po itong logo na ito sa DOST? Department of Science and Technology. So, what's the major role of DepEd? Obviously, to provide and to supervise our primary education. Yung ating NKP, dahil nga K-12 na po ngayon, NKP or Nursery Kinder Prep hanggang grade 6. Okay? Kasi, pagdating naman po ng secondary, still, DepEd pa rin naman po yan sa secondary, junior high school, and senior high school. And then, once na nag-reach na ng college, it's higher education already, so it's already the CHED. Okay? So, ayan po yan. And then, yung DOST naman po, the DOST was established in response to what? Our increasing demands to science and technology intervention, especially in relation to our national development. So, what are the main goal po ba of DOST? Okay, una sa lahat is to meet the increasing demands for intervention of science and technology in the national development. Bakit? Kasi nga, di ba, sabi ko nga sa inyo nung umpisa, if you're going to look at the level and the quality of science and technology of other countries and their economy, how was it related? it is directly related, right? As one country's science and technology improves, their economy follows. Kaya kailangan ng science and technology intervention para po sa national development po natin. Another goal of DOST is to pursue local capability for technological self-reliance. Anong ibig sabihin nitong pursuing local capability for technological self-reliance? That is to look not outside but to look inside. To what? To encourage our own manpower and to equip them to be self-reliant when it comes to competencies related to science and technology, and to encourage greater private sector participation in science and technology development. We cannot do it only if we are going to depend in our government alone. Okay? Kasi the Philippines is not only made up of the public sector. Actually, major or a lot, big part of it actually is made up of private. So, it is also the aim of DOST to not just simply involve the Philippine government, but at the same time, the private sectors themselves, so that they can lend a hand when it comes to honing and developing skills among the Filipinos to help in the development of the nation through science and technology. So some of the existing programs by the Philippine government through DOST are the following. First is funding. Okay? What do we mean by that? The Philippine government, in collaboration with DOST, funds different grants, okay, specifically for researches that is meant to increase our scientific knowledge base. Okay? This means that through basic research, we can collect valuable information about a certain occurrence affecting our society. So funding for science and technology research. Another thing is scholarship. DOST, again, with the help of the Philippine government, offers different scholarship po for undergraduate programs and even postgraduate programs po. Okay? For deserving Filipino students, which aims to be experts in the field of science and technology. Okay? Another thing is that DOST also supports to establish different educational institutions. Specifically, yung mga Philippine Science High School System, they encourage, no, alam naman natin yung FISAI, right? That is directly handled by the DOST, but other than that, meron pa tayong ibang mga public schools here and private schools as well that have what they call as science sections or science class. Through those, okay, somehow we are mimicking yung FISAI or yung Philippine Science High School. So, the establishment of different science high schools are meant to also produce future professionals po whose expertise are in the field of science and technology. Meron din tayong tinatawag na Balik Scientist Program. So, si Balik Scientist Program ng DOST, this contracts, okay, the science and technology experts who are Filipino citizens or are foreigner pero of Filipino descent that is residing abroad. And anong gagawin natin? Under Balik Scientist Program, from the term itself, babalik sila. Okay? They are encouraged to return here in the Philippines so that they can share their expertise in their field po. Okay? And then, we also got the K-12 program. Okay? Alam naman na natin kung para saan tong K-12 program, di ba? It provides the student with sufficient time for mastery of concepts and skills for development of lifelong learning and at the same time to prepare them for tertiary education. Lalong-lalo na po yung ating senior high school kasi it is believed that what? The different strands in each senior high school is meant to tackle or to target specific specializations pagdating po sa college. And this also allows students or graduates of K-12 to be capable of entering not just directly tertiary level, but at the same time, pwede rin maging entrepreneur and at the same time po, they can even be employed already or get into textbook if they wanted to. Okay? So, if you're going to look at it, Okay, when it comes to the development of science and technology here in the Philippines, there are different internal influences and external influences. With internal influences, we got one, we needed to adapt for us to survive. Two, we use culture to also develop. Three, for economic activities and others. External influences naman, on the other hand, involves foreign colonizers, which has inculcated with us their culture and at the same time affected and influenced our science and technology development. The trades with foreign countries definitely also enrich not just our culture but our science and technology and international economic demands as well. That ends our discussion about the historical antecedent of science and technology here in the Philippines. And I hope that you've learned something new regarding this topic po. That would be all. This is Miss De La Torre and thank you very much for listening. Bye everyone.